Hi everybody, we are going to do 5-point graphs with vertical shifts and horizontal shifts / phase shifts, whichever term you would like to use. I went ahead and graphed out my parent function of sine x, and I went ahead and wrote down the format of which we're going to be using to graph. So remember that A stands for amplitude, and RA value is 3. B stands for something that will help you find your period. So our period is calculated by taking 2 pi over B. So 2 pi over 2 is our B value, so over 2, which is pi. H is your horizontal shift or phase shift, and that's just like every other transformation. It's backwards of what you would think it is. So since this is positive, we're going to move to the left 2 pi. So I'm going to put horizontal, our shift is left 2 pi, and then I'm going to go, our vertical shift is this last one, our k value, just like h and k in regular transformations. So my k value, my vertical transformation, is I'm going to go up 1. Okay, for these graphs, because there's so much that you have to think about, I'm only going to require you to do the 5 points. Don't worry about the 10 points. So we're going to go over here and look at the first one, and I'm going to graph this in 2 steps. I'm going to graph it taking in all of these aspects into account: amplitude, period, and vertical shift. And then my second graph is going to do the horizontal shift. It's really hard for me to do them all at the same time. Some people can, and there's different ways to do this, but here's how I do it. So first of all, I'm going to go ahead and graph. I need to change my increments on my x-axis because the full period now is pi, not 2 pi, so it's been squeezed in. So pi will be a full period, and I need to split that up into 4 sections. So pi divided by 4 gives me pi over 4. So pi over 4. 2 pi over 4 is pi over 2. And then 3 pi over 4. And of course we have 0. Now we have to look at our amplitude, and be careful here. Our amplitude is 3. So I start out thinking, okay, we're going to go up 3, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to go down 1, 2, 3. But there's a problem. We have this vertical shift of up 1. So that means instead of the bottom being at -3, it's going to be at -2. We're not ever going to hit this -3, and instead we're going to hit 4. And that's why people look at the midline. Our midline is no longer going to be 0. Like right here, where the points touch the x-axis, instead of touching there, since it's moved up 1, it's going to touch at the line y equals 1. That's our midline. Usually our midline has been y equals 0 up until this point. So y equals 1, I'm going to go ahead and put that midline in there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and graph everything excluding the period, not the period, excluding the horizontal shift. I'm excluding that. So at 0, it's no longer 0, it's at 1 because my midline shifted from 0 to 1. At pi over 4, that correlates to my pi over 2. It's going to hit my maximum point, which is going to be 4. At pi over 2, that's going to correlate to pi. That's going to hit my midline, which is 1. 3 pi over 4, that's going to hit my minimum value, which in this case is going to be -2, which is kind of smack dab in the middle where I wrote 3 pi over 4. And then at pi, it's going to hit my midline again, which is 1. So my trig function looks like that with my 5 points. Now I need to go back and redo it and shift everything to the left.